Don't look at me.
Oh, okay.
The eastern white pine, you can never be lost in the forest with that tree. You can see how there's always a branch pointing longer out on the tree, points east all the time. So wherever you are in North America, if you're in a forest and you think you're turned around or lost, you always know where east is. Native culture, we always taught as kids, and you're in the bush, you can never be lost because you always see that tree shows you. See, the branch points out east. It always does.
White pine, that's the one with the really long needles.
The long, soft needles. Strongest form of vitamin C. For example, you know, there's all these types of wild grass that grow and produce these seeds that look very similar to grain that you cultivate. You know, they're very, very similar. And so if I was stuck and hungry and had nothing else, you know, these kind of grasses will stay with their tops, staying up like this around the local park like this all year round, because this is like a little thing that nobody cuts. And so if I had to grind this up into flour and make cooked bread, I have a source of food. I would never be worried about going hungry. I mean, there's so many types of these grasses that grow, and I would never be worried about saying it was being toxic or they're spraying chemicals. The plant can't survive unless it has the energy to produce food. Here, right here in the park here, you see, here's our wild lettuce or chicory, the same thing I have growing in my backyard. And here's the little flowers, you know, I'll pick one off and goes in my mouth to eat it. It's just growing free, sitting around underneath the edge of the trees along the parkland, and no one even knows that it's food. They just, you know, it's look at beautiful flowers, it's a weed. When I first started, you know, examining all kinds of plants, and you saw my house, I used to come down to the park here, and because, you know, I didn't have the opportunities or the resources to keep traveling before I bought land up in Northern Ontario where I was raised, I used to come down here and harvest from this spruce tree. I'd go pick gum from the trees, you know, from the white spruce, and use the needles for tea. I just looked around my local area and started examining what type of plants and natural medicine that I had. As I started examining more and more stuff and to learn more and more, I just looked around. This is less than a mile from my house. What's here? If I have an emergency and I need this, how far do I have to walk to get it? So this is something I started looking at more and more and more. And the weeds in the grass. If you look around here, you're going to see plantain, dandelions. You're going to find them, looking around for them as available food sources. Okay, we're gonna look at this tree over here, staghorn sumac. Now, this tree produces this fuzzy cone here. It's really not ready to harvest right now. You got to wait till it kind of freezes, and in it you'll see there's these tiny little balls. And what I do is I just break this off. Even in the wintertime, the snow, I'll come down here and I pick this up. And you want a great source of vitamin A, which is malic acid in this, and your body converts the malic acid to rhodopsin. And rhodopsin is something that you cannot exist with, because every time you look at something and you see a spot of light, or you see everything, whatever you see with your eyes, a tiny little bit of rhodopsin is used in your eye to actually reflect the images. So a great source of vitamin A. There's lots of people who will say, no, that's not really true, but from all the research I did, it's something you want to use. Native culture used it to make jams, jellies, tea all the time. I use this and white pine, cedar, spruce, the green conifers, and I use it with sumac, and I find it just flavors the tea. It gives your body great health benefits, and it's something that you want to have. You can eat those little seed pods after they've frozen, but the rest of the year you can't really touch this till it becomes ripe. It's a winter source of food. The leaves and the branches and the bark of the sumac are pretty well toxic and poisonous to the body, but this isn't. And if you have deer around the neighborhood, you'll probably notice if you come down here in February when there's snow on the ground and it's cold, you'll see the deer reaching up at the end of the day, and they'll be chewing off these things and eating them as a food source. So the deer aren't stupid, they know what's going on.
There's a plant called poison sumac. How can you tell the difference?
They look the same, but they still make that red cone, both of them, and the cone is available. The poison sumac, the cone is not a problem. It's just the rest of the plant, it's poisonous.
So in both plants?
Both plants. This is the most popular one. This is the one that's easiest identifiable. You can see it. It doesn't look 100%.
It doesn't matter what kind of sumac it is.
Yeah.
As long as you're just doing the
Just
cone.
use the cone after the weather is cold.
Okay.
After it freezes.
You know, it makes you think that when you see a plant like this, which is not even a tree, it's just a kind of a weed,
Yeah.
that it grows so fast that it's probably got natural sterols and growth hormones in it.
I would agree with that. It has to have something in it because the deer naturally go to it in the wintertime, especially around January, end of February. You'll see the deer eating this. They'll be just eating that thing down. And this tree, you know, it will have, the whole area here will have plenty of those cones. For as much as you want to harvest, you'll have a supply. It seems to always produce plenty. And whether we're talking about dandelions or the chicory here, the wild lettuce, or the staghorn sumac, I've been noticing for years in nature that what we need to eat is always in great abundance. There's no lack. You know, people tell me, well, you know, there's nothing to eat, but you know, if I'm like the little squirrel, you know, I'm going to go and gather up and put it away and store it for myself, so I have plenty of food. I mean, we've shown on film already in my house bags and bags of food, and we only showed a small amount of what I've got stored away. To me, it's impossible to go hungry, even if you don't have any cash. You can just walk around and there's so much to harvest.
Learn from the squirrels.
Oh, absolutely. The squirrel is brilliant. He knows what to do.
So this giant thing's a raspberry bush.
Yeah, this is a whole raspberry patch here, and it spread all the way up there for about 1,000 feet.
Wow.
And you know, there's a few little raspberries down here. The little seed pods there just left off. So if you were coming down here every day and paying attention from spring, when they start producing the flowers and the raspberries, you could always pick yourself enough to have a meal with some yogurt.
And the leaves are medicinal too.
Yes, your raspberry leaves are your tea, and like I said at the farm, your cane, when it's dried, even in the winter time, it's very good to stop diarrhea or upset stomach or problems with the intestinal tract. So making it as a tea, you don't have to worry that you didn't collect any leaves. Even in the winter time, this cane is standing up straight out of the snow. It's always a reddish tinge to it because it's the red raspberry family, and it's easy to find. You don't have to go be a rocket scientist to recognize this, and it always has the bramble on it, sticks to your skin, grabs your clothes, hooks you, the little burrs. If someone wanted to come down to this park and pick themselves a quite interesting salad in a matter of a few minutes, you could walk around here, pick a few dandelion leaves. You didn't have to go far. Your Queen Anne's lace sitting right here, your wild carrot. You could pick some stems from it as well to enhance your salad. Here's your wild chicory or wild lettuce, your blue flowers. You could add on some of the leaves, and you would have an amazing, tasty salad.
You got your carrot, you got your lettuce.
Yeah, so you got vitamin A, vitamin C, the B vitamins, you have some digestive enzymes, and you could add a little oil and some bread like I like to do as well if you wanted to, and you have an amazing salad. And it didn't cost you anything, just your time to come and pick it up. Most people who just walk by down in this garden path, this paved garden path through this park, they don't just even have an idea how many raspberry canes. Like, look, you know, it's 500 feet of raspberry bushes just growing here for your ability to come and pick. This is a mulberry tree growing here, and you can see as it gets older, the leaves get darker and shinier, and they have this traditional little cutout section, you know? Like when you look at the leaves, they're very small, they look more like this. And then as the leaves get older, as you see, it fills in, but you know, you'll still see the odd one that has this little cutout section, very shiny. So you could harvest these leaves for tea, small ones and large ones, a combination. And now that you know this tree is here, you know, next year you can come by and as you're going for your walk, you're going to watch to see that the mulberries are on it. Then you'd start harvesting fruit. This is a common garden rose that lots of people plant as ornamental plants around their house. When my rose bush in my backyard is in flower like this one, I like to pick the flower right off, chase the bugs out, they were in there, and I pick the petals out and put them in my salad. And I tell you, you know, it's tasty, and look how beautiful it is. I mean, it's just fantastic to look at.